everyone, welcome to my online geography class KSK Geography. As you know, we are studying the chapter that is natural vegetation. In my last video, we discussed about the importance of natural vegetation as well as the definition and little bit description about the natural vegetation. And we finish with this slide, that is a types of vegetation found in India. So what are the types? That is tropical evergreen, tropical deciduous, tropical thorn forest and scrubs, and the mountain vegetation or the mountain forest and the mangrove forest or mangrove vegetation. Those are the main 5 type vegetation found in India. Now we need to discuss about this type of vegetation. What are the required condition for growing such type of vegetation? What are the characteristics of such vegetation? What are the uses of such vegetation, as well as the distribution pattern in India of different type of vegetation. So first you should see overall the distribution pattern of those natural vegetation. So first here and here, these are the mountain area. So in the Jammu Kashmir and the northeastern states, so those are the mountain area. So here basically we are getting the mountain vegetation. Next, the western part of India, those basically dry area, those are the desert area, arid or semi-arid. So this area we are getting desert vegetation. And the western part of Western Ghat and the northeastern states, those are the heavy rainfall area as well as temperature is also high. So that's why in that area we are getting tropical evergreen vegetation. And the maximum part of India, the central part of India or in the northern plain areas, we are getting tropical deciduous type of vegetation, and these are the dominating vegetation over India. Now let's talk one by one the different type of vegetation in details. So first we will discuss about the tropical evergreen vegetation or tropical rainforest. Why it is called rainforest? Because this type of vegetation is found in such area where the rainfall it will be high, rainfall it will be more than 200 centimeters. In such condition, this type of vegetation it will grow, as well as temperature also required little bit higher side, that it will be more than 25, in between 25 to 35 temperature. It will be ideal for growing such type of vegetation. These are the basic requirements for this type of vegetation. And this type of vegetation are also called the evergreen vegetation. Why? Because it don't shed their leaves all together. Remember, mark the term all together. It shed their leaves, but it don't shed their leaves all together. So it partially shed their leaves throughout the year. Why? Because there are no season change. Throughout the year there will be high temperature as well as high rainfall. So that's why this trees looks green throughout the year. Now let's see about the particular type of vegetation, that is tropical evergreen vegetation. What are the characteristics or features, or you may say what are the adaptation this vegetation has been done to stay in the environment. So what are those? First things, that its trees are very tall. Why? The rainfall is more as well as take place more. So these trees it will be very tall, as well as this vegetation it will be very dense, hardwood, and the leaves it will be broad. Why? Because the same reason, due to high temperature and high amount of rainfall. And this is the reason that this area's natural vegetation, although the quality wise is very good, but problem is there, we cannot exploit it commercially. First reason, that it's very dense and it is mixed jungle. So this vegetation are very dense and as well as in mixed distribution. So commercially it will be difficult to exploit. Even it will be very difficult to enter in the forest because it is very dense. As well as if we enter the vegetation, it will be difficult again. Why? Because these trees are very hardwood trees. So it's difficult to cut. Even if you cut it also, it will be difficult afterwards to take it out. So that's why this type of vegetation in India we are not using for commercial purpose, or it is not exploited as it was expected, right? So the next type of vegetation, that is called tropical deciduous. Remember, the maximum part of India this type of vegetations are found, that is tropical deciduous, or it also called that is monsoon vegetation in India. Why? Because this type of vegetation shed their leaves all together during the dry season. So as the season change, the characteristics or features of natural vegetation also change. So during the dry season, that is 3 to 4 months dry season, it shed their leaves all together to prevent it from the transpiration. So that's why it will be called deciduous vegetation. And this deciduous vegetation are two types, moist deciduous and dry deciduous. Remember, the temperature condition, it will be required that it will be more or less same, but the difference it will be there as per the precipitation or as per the rainfall level. So for moist deciduous, the rainfall it will be required in between 100 to 200 centimeters, in between 100 to 200 centimeters. And for dry deciduous, the rainfall it will be required in between 70 to 100 centimeters. So as per the rainfall distribution pattern, those tropical deciduous forest also varies. So these are the two subdivision of tropical deciduous forest. So let's see the characteristics or features of this type of vegetation. Remember, this type of vegetation, it shed their leaves all together during the dry season. That will be 3 to 4 months. The trees it will be leafless, and these trees, the advantage is there, the similar type of trees it will be grow in the same place. So that's called pure stand. So for commercial purpose, it will be easy to exploit. One more advantage, this trees it will be hard, but it will be not so hard like tropical evergreen vegetation. So it will be comparatively easy to cut the vegetation and take it out. And as these vegetations are not grow in dense condition, so it will be easy to take out the vegetation also after cutting the trees. And remember, this type of vegetation having huge impact on economical use in India. It is mostly exploited natural vegetation in India, and these trees in India mostly used for making furniture and also the building materials. Let's see the next important type of vegetation, that is the thorn vegetation or desert vegetation. So this type of vegetation in India we are getting in such areas where rainfall is comparatively low, less than 70 centimeters. In such areas we are getting this type of vegetation, especially the western part of India. States like Rajasthan and Gujarat carrying such type of vegetation. The another name of such type of vegetations are called the xerophyte vegetation. So here you can see the required condition, that is less than 70 centimeter rainfall is required. Next that is it consists of a variety of grass and shrubs. So this vegetation it will be not like a big trees, there will be small shrubs and grasses that it will grow here. The states we are getting, that is the Punjab, west part of Punjab, Haryana. Mainly we are getting two states, that is Rajasthan and Gujarat. Rajasthan and Gujarat, in these two states we are getting mainly this type of vegetation, and there are certain adaptation this type of vegetation is to made on that area to survive. First, the trees roots it will be very long. Why? Because the underground water level it will be very low. To get the water from the underground, so the trees develop very long roots. As well as to prevent the transpiration, the leaves of the trees it will convert to the thorns. So the trees it will be safe from releasing the water. As well as there will be waxy coated layer over the vegetation that also help to prevent the transpiration. So those are the important changes they used to make to survive in that area. The important trees, that is babul, kir, wild date palm and kher, those are the few important vegetations found in that area. Now so let's see some other important features of the thorn vegetation. This vegetation consists of stunted trees and thorny bushes, mostly that it will be full of thorns in that area. This vegetation also consists with thorny shrubs and bushes in between, and there will be very less number of trees growing haphazardly in the vegetation, that it will be far away from each other. Remember, this type of vegetation it will grow in such areas where temperature it will be high, that is 25 to 30 degrees Celsius temperature, and in the atmosphere humidity level it will be less than 50%. So those type of condition it will be ideal to grow the thorn vegetation. Let's talk another important type of vegetation, that is mountain vegetation. Remember, mountain vegetation it will be found in such areas where you will get the mountain. And why this type of vegetation you will get? Basically, those are the mixed type of vegetation that we have studied till the time, that is evergreen and deciduous and different type of bushes. So those type of things only you will get in the mountain areas as per the height. Remember, at the foothill of mountain we will get the deciduous vegetation, and as the height increase up to 2000 meters we will get the vegetation that it will be evergreen types. Above the 2000 we will get the vegetation that it will be little bit different in nature. The new type of vegetation you will get, that it will call coniferous vegetation. And as the height increase now onwards, the amount of vegetation it will become less, and there will be some changes in the vegetation features. Like after coniferous vegetation we will get in the next layer, that is above 3600 meters we will get scrubs, and after that we will get alpine grasses, and then we will get moss and leeches, very low category vegetation, and the top it will be covered with glaciers or ice cap, so that's why we will not get any type of vegetation at all. Now this mountain vegetation, they made several adaptation or changes in their features to survive. What are those? The first things, the trees it will be very tall, it will be not wide, and it will be cone shape. Here you can see it will be cone shape like this. It will be cone shape like this to protect it from the snowfall. As well as the leaves also it will be converted in the needle shape, that also help it to protect from the snowfall. So those are the several changes it will make in that part. And the important characteristics, this vegetation it will be softwood vegetation. The trees it will be very softwood, so mainly it is used for making packing box, the matchbox, the matchstick, as well as the sports equipment like cricket bat. For those purpose this type of vegetation is very useful. Next we will discuss about another important type of vegetation, that is mangrove vegetation. Remember, there are several names are there for the mangrove vegetation. It also called tidal vegetation and swampy or deltic vegetation, that is swampy, and this one is the deltic vegetation. The another important name of such type of vegetation, that is called mangrove vegetation. Remember, this term it will be used again and again. Those are called mangrove vegetation. Now as the term suggests, tidal. Why it is called tidal? Because those type of vegetation it will be found in such areas where there will be effect of tides. The water level, the ocean water level, it will goes up and down. In such place we will get. So the tidal affected area, it means river delta area will get such type of vegetation. Like in West Bengal we are getting in Sundarban, in Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, those river delta will get such type of vegetation. As well as the western part of India, that is in Gujarat, will also get such type of vegetation. Now let's see the important features or adaptation that type of vegetation is to make to survive. First of all, the trees it will develop aerial root. After the roots it will enter in the soil, it will come up again from the soil. Why? To absorb moisture from the atmosphere. Why? Because the soil it will be filled with the brackish water, so that it will not help the plants to grow. As well as the supporting roots also it will come out from the branches to give support, to make it stable in the particular place. Why? This type of vegetation having huge impact on the environment, especially in the coastal areas. It helps us to protect from the soil erosion. Even the cyclones when it will enter from the water bodies to the landmass, this vegetation help us to protect it from the impact of cyclones. Now I'll give you one important tricks how to remember all those things together. Why? Because the 50% weightage it will be given in the particular part, that is the types of vegetation. So how will remember all those things? Remember, very simple. This table you have to make after collecting the information from your textbook, and that you have to do it by your own. It will be easy, and if you will do it by your own, you can remember it for a long time. So what are the tricks? Just make the tables in that way. The first you write the types of vegetations, then required condition. Required condition means here you need to mention the required temperature, how much temperature is required for the particular vegetation, as well as how much rainfall is required. Next one, characteristics or adaptation, like different type of vegetation is grow and it's develop different type of adaptation. vegetation to survive. So that adaptation you need to make it here. Next one, the area of distribution and the state-wise distribution. Remember, it looks same, but there is a very fine difference. Council is very particular about that. If the question it will be asked which are the areas we are getting such type of vegetation, in that time you need to mention it as a area wise, like western part of Western Ghat or eastern part of Eastern Ghat or Gangetic plain areas or river delta areas. In that way you need to mention. But if it will be asked that name the states for the particular natural vegetation, so remember you need to specify the place with state's name. So after that you need to know about the main trees. What are the important trees we are getting in the tropical evergreen forest? That you need to write it here. And the main uses. What are the uses of that particular trees? That also you need to study. That's it from the types of vegetation. In the next video we will discuss about the forest conservation. For that you need to subscribe the channel and stay tuned for many more upcoming videos for grade 10 ICSE Geography. Thank you.